gore, blood, and all that goodness in today's video, going over 5 gory anime to check out. If you're new here and enjoy this type of content, make sure to subscribe and join the Discord, link is in the description. Now, I hope you enjoy. As a whole, there seems to be a lack in good gory anime, so today, with these 5 good gory anime in my opinion, they're all different to one another with the same basis of the gory element to pretty much intertwine them and bring out their greatness and enhance their story in many ways. All of them are good, some are better than others. I'll be letting you know my 100% honest opinion about them, not just, push the narrative that, oh yeah, this is good, when actually, it's fucking trash. But as a whole, these 5 anime are good. So first up, we have an anime that goes by the name Another. The pretty much basis of the story is a lot of death. There's no real narrative or real story apart from the horror element of a classroom student or a school or a class in a school that pretty much gets cursed every couple years, and that every student in that class ends up dying unless they forget about a certain student, or if they all agree to forget about the one student and pretty much outclass them. That's the basis of the story. It has pretty much genres of mystery, horror, supernatural, and thriller, and it's school based as well. That's what brings in all the pretty much gory elements, the horror and mystery that leads into the thriller aspect. The story isn't the best. It's probably the weakest story-wise anime on today's video, but it's carried by the gory elements. The gory elements are great. It doesn't shy away from showing everything that happens, and the main drawing point of watching this anime is to see how each of the characters are going to die, and the gory aspects or bloody aspects that go into their death, and then the lead up to that with the horror, mystery, and thriller aspect. As a whole, probably the weakest anime and my least favorite on today's list, but as a whole, it's very solid, and if you haven't checked it out, 12 episodes, easy to watch, but there you go, that's first up. Next we have Kangen Ashura, the most talked about anime on my channel. My basis of my channel is Kangi content, so most of you should already know about Kangen Ashura, but if you haven't checked Kangen Ashura out or you're new to the channel, so Kangen Ashura, fighting Chadley anime, going just into that tournament, brawls, not ashamed to pretty much have blood everywhere. The manga, in my opinion, is much better than the anime, but the anime, it's solid for what it is. It's full CGI, so there's no 2D animation, it's all 3D CGI animation. The fights are pretty much the main drawing point of the story. The story as a whole is the fights, there's nothing else really to it. There is an overlying plot, but most people, including me, don't really see that as the point of Kangen Ashura. It's really just about the pretty much great fantastic fights, and this is where the gory or bloody element comes into play, with the fights getting that brutal, that hands get broken, blood goes flying everywhere, characters' faces are and whole bodies are pretty much filled with blood and injuries from the battle. It's not the main aspect of it, but it's a key point that brings it above other fighting anime, such as, OG Dragon Ball had blood, but not as much, and now with Super doesn't have blood. The main drawing point of Super is the fights as well, but Super doesn't have blood, while Kangen Ashura fights are on a more grounded, martial arts based, realistic level for the most part, and there's the realistic element of blood going everywhere, bone shattering, and everything that goes into that type of greatness. So that's it for Kangen Ashura. Up next we have Dorohedoro, probably the best anime on today's video, or second best. It's very unique and different to anything else you would have watched. It came out at the pretty much start of this year in the winter 2020, and it was top tier greatness. The genres include action, comedy, horror, magic, fantasy, and seinen bringing out the gory aspects of it. The comedy is good as well, and it's not ashamed of being what it is, a very unique, dark, and crazy story at times. The soundtrack as well throughout the story, from opening to ending, and all the soundtracks in between are great, so I highly recommend wearing headphones while watching Dorohedoro. The gory aspect that brings it to all its greatness is shown mostly throughout the fights and pretty much everyday life. You got scenes where characters are just, they killed someone or they wrecked someone, they cut their heads off, and they're carrying it around in a bag, and the bag cuts open and blood goes everywhere, splatters everywhere. The fights are insane, just chopping up limbs with ease, and it's insane. It's very fun. Every episode is greatness. All 12 episodes are better than the one before, and the manga, I will most likely be reading that if the season 2 isn't announced soon. I rated it a solid 8 out of 10, but I could very well give it a 9 out of 10 looking back on all its greatness. Next we have Parasite the Maximum, probably the best anime on this list. I had given it a 9 out of 10. It was one of the first anime I watched when I first got into anime. Watched Death Note. Became in love with the psychological element, so I watched every top tier psychological based anime. So this is one of them. The genres include psychological, sci-fi, horror, drama, and seinen. The gory element comes into play with how the pretty much alien invasion, that's the basis of the story, goes into like killing humans and then like killing people's families and just taking over the world one by one, with this main character going from a pretty beta male coward to an absolute Chad with big dick energy. And this is all due to the pretty much struggles and mental damage that was done to him throughout the gory elements, or through the gory elements and the horror elements of the story, and what he has to deal with his everyday life. A solid anime to pick up, probably just as good or if not better than Dorohedoro. If you had to watch two anime that are story-wise, character-wise, everything-wise far superior than everything else on this list, I would go for Dorohedoro and Parasite. And then next, if you get into that fighting the greatness, Kanginasha. And the last anime to talk about in today's video is Goblin Fire. So who wouldn't enjoy watching a mentally unstable Chad armored up dude fuck up some goblins in various ways? The anime as a whole gives off isekai vibes, with its fantasy elements having the guild and like the generic isekai characters coming into play apart from the protagonist, who is somewhat very unique in his own way. But it isn't a isekai, it's just a basic fantasy anime. But you know, the gory elements, the story isn't too deep. It's just, you know, a protagonist who's gone through a lot of shit, just likes killing goblins, and that's what he does with his everyday life. And we enjoy watching the gory massacres that he goes through and him going absolute rage, angry boy craziness. So that's it for Goblin Fire, and that's it for 5 gory bloody anime to check out. If you've seen any of these anime already, make sure to let me know your thoughts of them down in the comments. Do you agree with me of all of them being pretty decent gory anime? What is your favorite anime on this list? And let me know which one you will most likely like the most based on what I've talked about, and which one you're going to check out. I'd love to hear. But that's everything for today's video. Peace.